Welcome to this episode of Toronto Blue Jays Update. The Kyle Tucker sweepstakes are officially heating up, and a decision could be coming anytime soon. Multiple insiders from around the league reported last night that teams are starting to submit concrete offers to Kyle Tucker, and yes, the Blue Jays are one of them. With this momentum building, these sweepstakes might be entering their final stretch. The Blue Jays are finally making their move, but where does their offer stand compared to the rest of Kyle Tucker's suitors? Let's jump into all of these reports right away because there's quite a few and then we'll break it down. Starting with Jesse Rogers' article that says sources confirm Kyle Tucker has received offers from the Mets and Blue Jays. That's pretty exciting stuff. We got the details from the Mets side of things, and it's believed their offer is worth about $50 million per season. That's what sources told ESPN's Jesse Rogers on Tuesday. That is quite a lot of money. Ben Nicholson-Smith quoted Will Salmon's report saying, "It's believed that the Mets are around $120 to $140 million for 3 years for Kyle Tucker. If you do the math and put those two reports side by side, you're looking at 2 to 3 years for $100 to $150 million with an AAV of $50 million per year. That's simple math, but that's what the Mets were always going to offer. It was always going to be a short-term deal with a high AAV. Now that's the Mets side of things. Then there's the Blue Jays side of things. The Blue Jays side isn't as detailed, but it's what we believe the Blue Jays to be offering in terms of length. According to Jesse Rogers, the Blue Jays have made a long-term offer to free agent Kyle Tucker. So you got the Mets giving their short high AAV offer, and then you got the Blue Jays going long-term. You've got to believe that the Blue Jays' long-term offer isn't going to be as high in AAV, right? If it was just as high as $50 million in long-term, well, Kyle Tucker's going to smash that accept button. But that's probably not the case. We don't know the details of it, but we're just going to assume it's a little bit lower than the Mets. Ken Rosenthal came out and said he wouldn't be surprised if it were this week, next week, or sometime soon that Kyle Tucker makes his decision. I'm on the same page as Ken Rosenthal. When you have these reports coming out and surfacing and things are being revealed to the public, it feels like things are coming to a head. For the Blue Jays right now, I still think they're in a very good spot. They were waiting for a very long time for teams to actually make an offer to be used as leverage, not like the Blue Jays have been used in the past. They want other teams to be used as leverage. The Mets coming in with a high AAV offer could be very competitive and pretty tantalizing for Kyle Tucker if he wanted a shorter-term deal with some high cash to renegotiate later on. But if he also wants long-term, he could go with the Blue Jays. That's exactly what they're sitting there waiting to offer. It's always been reported the Blue Jays could offer the most amount of money and the longest term. They just needed somebody to come in and send a competitive counteroffer to Kyle Tucker so the Blue Jays can go to where they're comfortable and offer a little bit more. As of right now, no details have come out about the Blue Jays' offer, but I still think they've got good leverage here. Part of the reason why I still think the Blue Jays have good leverage is they haven't even released their offer yet, and it doesn't provide any competitive advantage to release it. You've seen in years past where Blue Jays offers were leaked to the public because they wanted everyone to know what other teams were offering. So the main team, the free agent wanted, could go and make a counteroffer. That's all just speculation, but it does feel like a bit of a role reversal situation this offseason. The Blue Jays are sitting pretty, and I expect things to advance soon. Maybe it might be a Dodgers team coming in and giving a counteroffer because we haven't even talked about that yet. The Blue Jays are still waiting for whatever teams are going to throw out there, and then they're going to give another offer. Right now, they're waiting to see what Kyle Tucker and his market does. I did see Tony Metro's take on Twitter last night that got me thinking. He's essentially saying the Mets have a better competitive advantage than maybe the Blue Jays and the Dodgers in these sweepstakes. Because the Dodgers and the Blue Jays have already signed guys who have received qualifying offers where the Mets haven't. That means if you sign somebody already this offseason who has a qualifying offer attached to their name, like Dylan Cease for the Toronto Blue Jays, you have to forfeit some of your draft picks. The Blue Jays have already done that. If they go and sign Kyle Tucker, they'll have to offer up even more draft pick compensations. That's never been done before. A team signing 2 guys with qualifying offers attached to their names. However, I would counter this argument and say the Blue Jays are set up right now. If they were to get Kyle Tucker, they would be set up for a long time. Missing out on the 2026 draft would hurt them for a bit. For a year in their development, but they're set up for the next 2 to 5 years. They probably don't even have room for any of those guys to come up in the next few years. They're okay with having a bit of a lull period in their development window. Ben Nicholson-Smith spoke to Tim McAuliffe on Sportsnet last night, talking about Kyle Tucker and Bo Bichette, and a lot of people were taking his quote and really exploding it. Ben Nicholson-Smith is a very good reporter, and he doesn't like to leak a lot of things. But he said the Mets and the Dodgers should be scared when talking about the Blue Jays' competitiveness for Kyle Tucker. Everyone's saying this must be huge news coming from Ben. Let's just state the facts. The Blue Jays do have the leverage, they have the money, they have the roster, and if they go add Kyle Tucker, which a lot of people are pointing them as the favorites to do, then yeah, teams should be scared. The Blue Jays are going to be right there. If these teams have World Series aspirations, the Blue Jays might be the biggest threat to stop them. If they finish this Kyle Tucker deal off and he's on the team, this roster is absolutely stacked, and a lot of teams should be fearing the Toronto Blue Jays. That's the latest on Kyle Tucker and the Toronto Blue Jays. Things are starting to pick up, and the Blue Jays still have some pretty good leverage. We should be getting some big reports coming soon, and hopefully a signing announcement. Go Jays.